everything will be alright.
Hi City Youth, I hope you're doing well and keeping yourselves entertained these days. I know I am. I've got this puzzle going on my desk right here, and I've got this dog to take care of who has had 2 surgeries and is keeping herself entertained by resting and healing. So let's get started with these stretches. We are going to start with these stretches, your arm stretches or shoulder stretches that you do when you've been sitting for too long and your back hurts and you're just trying to get it to cooperate with you again. Awesome. Great stretching, guys. We are all stretched out. I'm just going to pray for us and then we can jump right into this message. Oh, Lord God, I pray for this week. Lord, thank you for this week. I pray for those essential workers that are directly affected by COVID-19 and those families who have been affected by the pandemic. Lord, I pray that you be with them and remind them of your presence, Lord. I also pray for the youth and the leaders, Lord. I pray that while we have this abundance of free time, that you remind us to spend time with you, whether that's through reading your word or singing some worship songs or speaking directly to you through prayer, Lord. I pray that you remind us of your presence as well. I pray for this upcoming message and that our upcoming weeks and days will be happy and healthy.
tries to make sense of it all. I know that your love breaks my fall. Scandal of grace, you died in my place. On my soul will know to be like you. Give all I have just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. just to know Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart. Know to be like, give all I have just to know Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart.
Hello, hello, City Youth. How's everybody doing? Hope you're good. Hope you're having a wonderful time. My name is Solomon. If you are new and you're joining us for the very first time, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. It is good to see you. It is good to have you with us. It is good for you to be with us as well. You're going to learn a bunch of new stuff. And if you are not new and you join us every single week, we want to say thank you. Like seriously, not just from myself, not just from Kemwell, but from all of us, all your leaders. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. We know that you could be anywhere else. You could be doing anything else. I know it's quarantine, but you could still be doing anything else. But you're not. You're with us. You're joining us. You're being with us. You're spending your time with us. Hey, just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate all that you guys are doing for us. We love having you guys, and we love you guys as well. So, for all the new people, we want you to know that we have a small group session that we do after the message. So if you'd like to join us for that, please send us a message, send us a link, send us something, add us on Instagram, do something so that we can reach out to you, okay? Awesome. So we are on our 4th week of our 5-week series on the bigger picture. Last week, Kem talked about, when you can't see the bigger picture, do the next right thing, right? He talked about how Joseph, ended up in Potiphar's house and became the leader of all the servants, and Potiphar's wife wanted to cheat on her husband with Joseph, and obviously he refused, right? And every day she was trying to get him to cheat on her. She was probably like, ooh, Joseph, ooh, you're so strong, Joseph. Oh, Joseph, oh. And Joseph is like, get away from me, you cheater. Like, maybe not those exact words, but you get what I mean, right? Joseph, was like, no. I'm going to do the right thing. So Joseph did the right thing. He acted with integrity. That was something Kemwell brought up last week, acting with integrity. And obviously she felt very rejected. And as a way of getting back to Joseph, she lied to her husband that Joseph was putting the moves on her. What a liar! Joseph was putting the moves on her. Yeah, right, man. Like you were putting the moves on Joseph. Anywho, Joseph ended up in prison, right? And because she lied about him to her husband, right? And so if you were to think of Joseph's life, right? It started with his brothers throwing him into an empty well and then selling him into slavery, to him becoming a servant, to him ending up in prison for a crime that he never did. It's very dramatic stuff right there, right? Kind of like a Netflix original series right there. Nothing seems to ever be going right for Joseph. See, when we read stories in the Bible, right, it takes us like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and we read about all the struggles that they go through and how they overcome it, and God was amazing and everything was all good, yada, yada, yada. But do we actually think about how long it was for them, right? How hard it was for them. So for Joseph, did we think of how long it was for him or how hard it was for him, right? I'll give you another example. When I was a kid, right, I used to watch the CSI TV series, right? It's called Crime Scene Investigation Series. And I loved how the CSI guys would get to a murder scene and they would analyze it. They would look for evidence and clues and stuff like that. And they would do a ton of experiments and DNA analysis. They would find like a strand of air and then they would like whittle down a bunch of suspects. And then by the end of it, they would solve the murder and catch the killer. And they do this all under an hour with 3 ads in the middle of it, right? That is amazing. And I was like, man, I wanted to be in CSI. It's so easy. It's done in an hour. Now, we both know that in real life, that never happens, right? Sometimes some investigations can last for months or even years, and some crimes are never even solved, right? But on TV, it's done in an hour with ads. And sometimes I think we apply that exact same thinking to the Bible, right? When Joseph is going through his struggles, we seem to read it like it's like the next day or something, and voila, Joseph is great. But let me paint it out for you guys. Joseph was 17 years old when he was sold into slavery, right? 17 years old. And then by the time he actually got out of prison, right, and got to speak to Pharaoh, so by the time we actually got to what I'm about to talk about today, he's 30 years old. So you guys are probably going, wait, let me do the math. Wait, that's 13 years. 13 years Joseph was in prison or captivity, right? I know people who are not even 13 years old, right? Then I'm like, and I feel like I've known them for years, and they're not even 13 years old, right? And that's what it was like for Joseph, right? Do we really think about the nights that he was lying on the prison ground, just thinking, what have I done to be here? What's the point of all of this? Where is God in all of this, Do you guys ever think about Joseph just lying there one night, just crying all alone to himself, trying to figure out why this is happening to him, especially when he did the right thing? Now, if I was him, I'd be thinking, man, if I had cheated, I wouldn't be here. I remember a time when some guys in my class actually cheated on an exam and they got 100%, and I refused to cheat and I acted with integrity and I got 80. And those guys, they never got caught. Ever since I've been like, but there's something about integrity that we need to hold on to. I mean, we've all been there, right? When life doesn't go your way, or when we do the right thing and act with integrity and still get into trouble, right? This week, we're going to be talking about when you can't see the bigger picture, trust that God is working for your good. Let me repeat that. When we can't see the bigger picture, trust that God is working for your good. So, when we're in the middle of a struggle, right, we don't see the point of it, right? When we're in the middle of anything, we don't see the point of anything, right? Right. When I was younger, my mom made me learn how to do laundry, right? I never got the point of laundry. Well, I get the point of laundry, clean clothes, obviously. But why do I need to learn the process? Why do I need to learn, what buttons this does on a machine, or what cycle that does? This is how I did laundry when I was a kid, right? I would pick up my clothes off the floor, right? I would smell it. If it smells good, keep it, right? If it smells like, maybe you get one more day out of it, And if you smell it and you're like, oh my God, and you feel like you want to throw up a little bit, then you probably need to wash it. Now, that was like a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. That's disgusting. But that was me. That's how I did laundry when I was a kid. Now, and then what I would do is when I finally figure out what clothes were dirty, which is gross, by the way, when I finally figure them out, I would just put them all into the washing machine. It doesn't matter what color was what, jeans, doesn't matter. Just put them into the washing machine. I'll pour some soap in it, never measured it, just pour soap. And then I'll just press the on button. And then when it's done from the washing machine, I just put it into the dryer. I don't care. Just put it on hot, whatever, and just turn it on. Now, as I'm saying this, I can feel some of your faces cringing like, oh, Solomon, that is not how you do laundry. That's just going to ruin your laundry. And others are like, that's what I do. Isn't that right? Right? And then the rest of you are like, my mom does my laundry, so I don't know what you guys are talking about, right? Anywho, I used to just put everything in, and then what happened is my white shirt would come out and they would be like pinkish red. My jumpers and cardigans would shrink and they would fade, right? And they wouldn't fit me anymore, obviously. And then one day my mom's like, what are you doing, right? And then she taught me how to do it, and now I'm a genius, right? Now I know about separating your colors and, water temperatures and which settings are better for cardigans, what you need to do when you're washing white clothes, and using like the delicate cycle on your washing machine. I'm all good now. I'm like a genius now, right? Now that I live alone, I see the point of learning how to do laundry properly. It's amazing. And maybe for you, it's not laundry. Maybe for you, it's at school. You thought, why do I need to learn about things like the French Revolution? Who cares about the French people? Who cares about a bunch of people who revolted and died a long time ago in France because of a revolution. Like, yeah, you probably need to brush up on your French Revolution, but definitely, you're like, that doesn't concern me. Or maybe your parents make you do chores on a Saturday morning, right? You're getting a nice lying in bed, and they're like, Kemuel, wake up and go clean the shop downstairs. And Kemuel's like, I'm sleeping. Get Bethel to do it. She's already up. What is the point of waking me up, right? Or maybe for you, it's more serious and painful than that. Maybe you've watched a loved one, struggle through an illness. Maybe they've even passed away, and you're thinking, what's the point of all of this? Or maybe you've been dealing with things like anxiety or depression, right? And no matter what you do, you just can't seem to shake it. And you're thinking, what is the point of all of this? Maybe your parents are always arguing, and it looks like they might be getting a divorce, and you're thinking, what is the point of all of this? Maybe you felt this way about your faith, and you keep trying to connect with God, but nothing you do seems to be happening, And you just keep asking yourself, what is the point of all of this? So the truth is, all of us will experience difficult times in our lives. All of us. And when we're in the middle of those difficult times, we find ourselves asking, what is the point of all of this? And we definitely don't see any big picture. We just see our pain. See, when we feel this way, it is almost impossible to believe that anything good can ever come from this. Well, this brings us back to the life of Joseph in the Bible, right? Can you imagine how Joseph must have felt, right? Being a slave or in prison for 13 years, almost as long as he had lived. 4 more years and it'll be equal to the same amount that he lived. If I were Joseph, I definitely will have a hard time seeing the bigger picture. But the truth is that God always has the bigger picture in mind. See, God was working behind the scene to help him. You see, while Joseph was in prison, 2 guys who worked for Pharaoh, right? That was like the leader of the day back then in Egypt, right? The cupbearer, this is a person who would taste, the king's drink, Pharaoh's drink, before Pharaoh actually drinks it, in case there's poison inside. So basically, he would taste the drink. If everything is okay after like a couple of minutes, then he's like, oh yeah, cool. Pharaoh's like, well, I can drink it. And then if he drinks it and he's like, and then he dies, Pharaoh's like, well, I guess I'm not going to drink that because, there's poison inside. So I don't know if Pharaoh's safe. Anywho, there's that guy, the cupbearer, and then there's the king's baker, so the guy who bakes for Pharaoh. And they both got thrown into the same prison that Joseph was in. And this is what the Bible says. This is in Genesis 40 from verse 5 onwards, right? It says, while they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they both looked upset. Why do you look so worried today? He asked them. And they replied, we both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean. Now, this sounds a bit weird, but back in the day, they used to believe that dreams have meaning and stuff like that. And they tell you a story about what is to happen in the future, right? And there's still people who believe in dreams today as well. And so basically, these guys, they had a dream. They tried to get people in the prison to try and tell them what it meant. Nobody knew what it meant. And so they got really sad and depressed or whatever it was because Joseph noticed. And Joseph's like, hey, what's going on with you? And they're like, well, we both had a dream, but no one could tell us the meaning. So basically, Joseph told them the meaning of the dream, right? So the first person, Joseph told the cupbearer, and he says that his dream meant that in 3 days, Pharaoh was actually going to release him from prison and give him his old job back. Right? And the cupbearer is like, yay, that's awesome. Woo, woo, I'm going to get my job back. Woo. Right? And then the baker is like, yo, 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 yo. Maybe not those exact words. Maybe like an Egyptian yo, yo, yo. I don't know. And he was like, yo, tell me my dream. And then Joseph's like, oh, okay. Well, in 3 days, Pharaoh's also going to release you from prison, but he's going to kill you. Sorry, brah. Right? And so Joseph said to the cupbearer, oh, by the way, when you get released, can you let Pharaoh know about me and, what I did for you? And also just, what I'm going through and what I went through, and see if he can just let me get out of prison and go home to my family. And here's what happened. So Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, just like Joseph predicted, and he prepared a banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and his chief baker to join the other officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position, just like Joseph said, so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh killed the chief baker, just as Joseph had predicted when he interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph. Oh, my days, really? Never given him another thought. So this guy completely forgot about Joseph. Joseph was right, but he forgot about him. Now, how long did he forget about him for? Like a day, 2 days? Nope. He forgot about Joseph for 2 years. Guys, 2 years. That's a lot. 2 years. Imagine sitting there waiting for someone to respond to you. You're just like, hey, get back to me. Please get back to me. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh, yeah. You know, like, how long would it take you before you give up? Like a day? Maybe a week? Maybe 2 weeks? Maybe a month? Maybe 2 months? But you certainly wouldn't be waiting 2 years, right? You'd be like, yeah, I'm going to just give up on that, right? Imagine waiting 2 years for a response, right? I'm going to tell you this. 2 years ago was 2018. Here's what happened in 2018, right? Remember the song by Childish Gambino, This Is America? That song. That was 2 years ago. Remember the song, Baby Don't Stop? Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Remember the song Fake Love? That was 2 years ago. I'm all going to get sporty and stuff now. So all my sports guys are like, yeah. My sports girls are like, woohoo. Right? France won the World Cup. That was 2 years ago. That was back in 2018. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. No one really cares about that. But Justin Timberlake performed at the halftime show. Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Golden State won the NBA Finals for the second time. That was 2 years ago. Who won it last year? Toronto. Yeah. Who else? Marvels. Black Panther. Do you guys remember Black Panther movie? That was 2 years ago. Amazing movie, by the way. Amazing movie. Loved it. Avengers Infinity War. Right? Just when the Avengers think they won, Thanos clicked his finger. And then reverse time and boom. Won. That was 2 years ago. That was 2018. Now, imagine Infinity War came out in 2018, and then they were like, yeah, we're going to wait 2 years before we release Endgame. People would flip out. It'd be torture, right? Now, 2 years later, Pharaoh himself had a dream that no one knew the meaning, right? And the cupbearer was like, oh, shoot. I remember when I had a dream in prison and nobody could tell me the meaning. There's a guy who told me in prison, what's his name? Completely forgot about him. His name is not your mama. Joseph, that's his name. Joseph. Oops, totally forgot about him. I was supposed to tell you about him. Yeah, that guy probably totally skipped my mind there. And just like that, Joseph got his chance to speak to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh called Joseph, right? To be like, yo, Joseph, you need to tell me the meaning of my dream. And God helped Joseph to do that. Right? Pharaoh had a dream that there's going to be famine in the land for 7 years. But before the famine, they're going to have like 7 years where there's like abundance of food and there's going to be abundance of everything, right? And then they're going to have 7 years of famine. But the 7 years of famine is going to be so bad, right, that they're not even going to remember that they had 7 years of good time. And so God told Joseph, well, if that's what we're going to do, then we need to stock all the food and then we need to just save all the food so that way we'll have when we have that 7 years of plenty, we have a bunch of food saved. And then when that famine comes, we'll be able to take from all the food that we store away. Genius, right? And then Pharaoh's like, wow, that's a good idea. And then Joseph is like, okay, now I get my chance to be like, okay, Pharaoh, I need to, like, he's probably thinking, okay, I need to ask Pharaoh, can you please let me go from prison and just let me go back to my family? But take a look at what actually happened. The Bible goes like this. It says, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or as wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a higher rank and position than yours. Right? Now, God used Joseph to tell Pharaoh not just a dream, but the solution to a famine that is going to be so severe that a ton of people not just in Egypt, but in surrounding countries would die as a result. Boom! There's your bigger picture. This famine was bound to happen, but God wanted Joseph to be placed in the right place at the right time so he can save millions of people. So what his brothers, right? What Potiphar's wife meant for evil, right? All the pain and all the suffering that Joseph went through, God used it for good. And even Joseph said it. It says, what you guys meant for evil, God meant it for good, right? God didn't cause all of it to happen to Joseph, right? But what God did, what he did was God was with Joseph, right? He was working for his good in the midst of the evil. Now, we may never understand why we're dealing with, the things that we're dealing with, or why we're going through hard times. But we can certainly trust that God is working for our good. Now, you're probably thinking, Solomon, how do I practically trust that God is actually working for my good, right? And I think we can start with these 3 simple steps, right? First of all, what you need to do is you need to choose to believe and trust that God is good, right? And that he has everything under control, especially when you're struggling to believe, or when the pain is just too much and you're struggling to see the bigger picture. Say something like, God, you are good no matter what, and I know that you have everything under control. Say something like that. Pray something along those lines. It's really helpful. The second thing you can do is you can just remember all the times that God has been there for you in the past, and just try and just trust in God that if he was with you back then, he's going to be with you now, right? If God could still see you through all the stuff that you went through in the past, he's definitely going to be with you as you go through what you're going through right now. And that's why some of your leaders, they tell you stories about a time in the past when God has been there for them, and they tell you about their testimonies and, how they kept trusting God for not just what happened in the past, but for future challenges that they might have, because he was with them in the past, so they can lean on him for the future. And then the third thing that I think is really, really helpful, really, really practical, is when you're really struggling to see how God is working for your good. Right? Just lean into somebody else. Tell someone you trust what is going on. Get them to pray with you and to pray for you. Ask them to tell you a story of when God was working for their good, even when they couldn't see the bigger picture back then. Right? Hashtag hindsight is 2020. Right, Bethel? Hashtag hindsight is 2020. Right? Bethel, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. There's this saying called hindsight is 2020. So basically what that means is that when we're in the middle of something, we struggle to understand, we struggle to see it. But when we look back, why we go, oh, so that's why that happened. Oh, so that's why. And so we get a clearer vision, or a clearer understanding of the situation, but we're in the middle of it. We don't really see that well, right? And that's what's going on here. Hashtag hindsight is 2020. Bethel, yeah. Anywho, use their experience to encourage you during your difficult times. Right, guys, so remember, when you can't see the bigger picture, trust that God is working for your good. Now, as you head into small group today, think about these questions. What am I going through that I don't understand the point of? Right? And how can I remind myself to trust in God, because God sees the bigger picture? Let me say that again. What am I going through that I don't understand the point of? Right? And how can I remind myself to trust in God, because God sees the bigger picture? Guys, have a wonderful small group, and have fun. Shalom. Bye, City Youth.
Every little thing, everything will be